What's happening, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. My name is Nick, and if you're new here, this is the place where we break down tech without the fluff. I test it, I review it, and I tell you exactly what you're getting for your money. Today, we've got something really interesting for review. This right here is the Kamrui E3B, part of their new Pinova series. And it is a Windows 11 Mini PC packing an AMD Ryzen V2748 processor with Radeon Vega 7 graphics with a boost clock speed up to 4.3 GHz. I must say that when I first got this in, I was not expecting much from a mini PC at this price point, but this thing surprised me. So we're gonna go through the full unboxing, check out the design, run through all the I/O ports, and crack it open to see what's inside. Let's get into it. So I'm back, and let's start with the unboxing. First and foremost, you get the Kamrui E3B itself. Right away, you can see that carbon fiber textured top lid, that white Kamrui logo, and the AMD Radeon graphics badge on the front corner. It feels really premium in your hands, and you can see they used a very high quality plastic for this build. Next up, the power supply. This is a 65-watt brick. Output is 19 volts at 3.42 amps. It's a universal input, so 100 to 240 volts, meaning this will work anywhere in the world. The power supply itself is made by Shenzhen ABP technology, and it's got your FCC, CE, and UKCA certifications on there. Nice to see that even the brick is properly certified. You also get an HDMI cable, which is standard. The power cord is a figure 8 style connector that works with the brick we just saw. Nothing fancy, but functional. Now this is a nice touch. They include a VESA compatible mounting bracket. So if you want to stick this thing behind your monitor or TV, you can do that right out of the box. The bracket has keyhole slots and mounting holes all pre-drilled, and of course they give you the screws and standoffs to go along with it. You get both black machine screws and gold colored standoffs, everything you need to mount it up. Finally, there's a multilingual user manual. Covers English, French, German, Italian, Polish, Spanish, Swedish, Korean, and Japanese. So this unit is clearly designed for a global market. Let's look at its design more carefully. The top of the unit features that diagonal carbon fiber pattern that really gives it a premium gaming aesthetic. At the center is the Kamrui logo. When you look closer, it's actually chrome silver. On the bottom left corner, you've got the AMD Radeon graphics badge. The overall form factor is a square with nicely rounded corners. It doesn't look like a typical boring mini PC. Moving to the back panel, this is where the business happens. You've got 4 USB 3.0 Type A ports arranged in a 2x2 layout on the left side. Then you've got a Gigabit Ethernet LAN port for your wired network connection. Moving right, there's a DisplayPort output and then an HDMI port, so you can run dual displays simultaneously. And all the way on the far right is your DC barrel power input. The rear also has an intake ventilation grill running across the top. On the front, you get the power button on the left side, a nice square tactile button. Right next to that is a 3.5mm audio jack for headphones or a mic. Then 2 more USB 3.0 Type A ports, and on the far right, a USB Type-C display port. So that means in addition to the 2 DisplayPort at the back, you can connect a third monitor for 3-way display. You also have a total of 6 USB ports on to work with, and that's actually really good for a mini PC of this size. Both sides of the unit are dominated by exhaust vents, with lots of fin-style slots running across the top half of each side for heat dissipation. The bottom half on each side has a fine perforated grille pattern. It has excellent performance printed on one of the sides, which is a bold claim, and let's see if they back it up. The bottom is where you find all the technical specs. The label confirms it model as the E3B. It's got 16GB RAM, 512GB system disk, and an AMD Ryzen V2748 CPU. There's a large X-pattern ventilation intake taking up most of the bottom to allow more air to get pulled up through here, and 4 rubber feet keep the unit stable on your desk. Also note the 2 gold threaded inserts. These are the Visa mount attachment points. The bottom panel comes off after removing the 4 screws, and there are 2 separate panels to remove: the outer plastic cover and a metal internal panel which doubles as a structural piece. The storage is an M.2 NetAC 2280 SATA SSD 512GB. The slot is labeled PCIe plus SATA, meaning you can swap this out for either a SATA or NVMe PCIe drive. The NetAC unit that comes installed is a SATA drive, but you could upgrade to a faster NVMe if you want more performance out of the storage. The RAM is a single 16GB DDR4 stick from Puskill, running at PC4 3200 MHz at 1.2 volts. You can also see there is a second RAM slot available, allowing you to add more RAM. So you can throw in another 16GB stick and run 32GB total if your workload demands it. Internal build quality looks clean. The board has orange heat isolation pads on the mounting points, proper shielding over the processor area, and the Wi-Fi module is tucked in on the side with its antenna cables routed neatly. There's also a second M.2 slot available, so potentially a second SSD could be added for extra storage. For a mini PC at this price, the internal layout is genuinely impressive. It's not cramped, the components are accessible, and upgrades are straightforward. And that's the full unboxing. From what I'm seeing here, its build quality, port selection, and upgradable internals, it's already punching above its weight class. So when you power this thing on for the first time, you go through the standard Windows 11 setup wizard, the same one you've seen before if you've ever set up a Windows machine, and this includes selecting your region, your language, connecting to a network, and signing into your Microsoft account. All of that good stuff. Nothing unusual, nothing out of the ordinary. Once you're done, you're taken to the Windows 11 desktop. So the first thing I want to do is head into its basic system settings and take a look at what we're actually working with under the hood. It shows here that the processor as the AMD Ryzen Embedded V2748 with Radeon graphics at 2.90 GHz. Now don't let that 2.9 GHz number throw you off. That's just the base clock speed that Windows reports. When I ran AIDA 64 Extreme for a deeper look, it confirmed this is an 8-core processor that boosts all the way up to 4200 MHz. That's 4.2 GHz when it needs to push under load. So there's a lot more headroom in this CPU than that base number suggests. On the memory side, it has 16 GB of installed RAM. The RAM itself, as we saw inside, is a single DDR4 stick running at 3200 MHz, and you've still got that second slot open if you ever want to bump it up to 32 gigs down the road. For graphics, it identifies the GPU as AMD Radeon graphics with 1 GB of dedicated video memory. The 3D accelerator is listed as AMD Renoir, which is the architecture behind the Radeon Vega 7 integrated graphics we already know is built into this processor. It handles everything through the AMD 17.6 chipset framework, and as we covered earlier, you've got both an HDMI and a DisplayPort output to run dual monitors simultaneously. On the audio side, it's detecting 3 adapters. You've got the AMD 17.6 audio processor as the main engine, then ATI Radeon HDMI audio, handling the digital audio output through the HDMI and DisplayPort connections, and finally a Realtek ALC269 taking care of the 3.5mm headphone jack on the front of the unit. So all 3 audio paths are properly detected and accounted for. For storage, the system is showing 2 drives. The primary is the NITAC 512GB M.2 SATA SSD, the one we saw installed inside, coming in at 476 gigs usable. There's also a secondary drive showing up at around 119 GB, that is second in the 2 I installed for this review. And then finally, its network and connectivity. It comes with a MediaTek Wi-Fi 6 EMT7902 wireless adapter, and Wi-Fi 6E is the latest generation of wireless, adding support for the 6 GHz band on top of the standard 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. So you're getting fast, future-ready wireless connectivity on this machine. Bluetooth 5.2 is also on board through the same MediaTek adapter. And for wired connections, you've got a Realtek PCIe Gigabit Ethernet controller driving that LAN port on the back. So whether you prefer wired or wireless, this thing has you fully covered. For firmware features, let's talk about the display capabilities of this machine, because this is actually one of the areas where the E3B really stands out for its price point. Heading into the display settings, you can see the supported resolutions go all the way up to 3840 by 2160, that's full 4K UHD, and Windows is recommending that as the top resolution for my display, but it can go higher. So whether you're running a 4K monitor or a 4K TV, this mini PC can push a full 4K signal with ease. So it'll work with pretty much any display you throw at it. You also get HDR display. Going into the HDR settings, you can see it's showing HDR video streaming, games, apps, and more as supported, and HDR is toggled on. Auto HDR is also enabled, which means Windows will automatically enhance eligible content to HDR even if it wasn't originally mastered that way. So if you're connecting this to an HDR capable TV or monitor, you're getting a noticeably richer, more vivid picture out of the box. That's a feature you typically see on much more expensive machines, and it's right here on the E3B. For screen orientation, you've got full flexibility. You can run a landscape, which is the standard horizontal setup, portrait for a vertical monitor orientation, and both of those have flipped variants as well. So if you're running a vertical monitor for coding or social media management, or you've got a display mounted in a specific way, you can rotate the output to match. Nice to have that flexibility built right into the display settings. Moving on to audio, the E3B actually supports Dolby Atmos and DTS:X for home theater. When you go into the speaker setup, you can see those options listed alongside standard stereo only when connected to a compatible device. So if you're connecting to a surround sound receiver or a soundbar that supports those formats over HDMI, you're getting full object-based surround sound from this mini PC. So this is Dolby Atmos. Next, you have Dolby Digital Plus. This is DTS HD Master Audio. This is Dolby Surround. This is Dolby True HD.
Next, the left rear surround channel. This is the left surround channel.
And you get DTS:X. Another premium feature is its multi-monitor capability. The E3B has 3 display outputs, HDMI and DisplayPort on the back, and the USB Type-C port on the front. This means you can connect 3 monitors simultaneously in duplicate mode or extended display. So here is how you set it up. HDMI cable goes into the first monitor, a DisplayPort cable plugged into the second, and then a USB-C to DisplayPort cable running from the front USB Type-C port into the third monitor. This configuration is ideal for trading, content creation, or even just having your media on one screen while you work on another. This is a massive feature for the price. The USB Type-C DisplayPort also gives you touchscreen monitor capability if you have a portable monitor or display that supports touchscreen feature. For Android gaming, at 1080p you get an average of 30 FPS, which indicates that you cannot do high-performance 60Hz gaming on this mini PC without some difficulty. So it's recommended that you stick to 1080p resolution at an average of 30 FPS for good gaming performance. So let's move on to some performance benchmarks and where it ranks on my mini PC rankings chart, starting off with NovaBench. Looking at the memory and storage performance, the 16GB DDR4 RAM posted a peak transfer speed of 6,160 megabytes per second with a latency of 95 nanoseconds. That's solid performance for DDR4 at 3200 MHz. On the storage side, the NATAC 512GB SATA SSD came in with a sequential read speed of 530 megabytes per second and a sequential write speed of 474 megabytes per second. Those are respectable numbers for a SATA drive and more than sufficient for everyday use, fast boot times, and smooth application loading. Next up is network performance, and we ran multiple tests on speed test to cover all three connection types. Starting with the wireless side, on the 5 GHz Wi-Fi band, the E3B pulled download speeds of around 340 megabits per second consistently, with latency sitting at just 13 to 14 milliseconds. Stepping down to the 2.4 GHz band, download speeds came in at around 73 to 74 megabits per second, with latency at 12 to 13 milliseconds. And then on the wired gigabit LAN port, download speeds jumped right back up to around 338 to 339 megabits per second, with the lowest latency of the three at just 11 milliseconds. So wired and 5 GHz wireless are both delivering strong, consistent performance. And if you're on a gigabit internet plan, you'll be able to take full advantage of that LAN port. Moving on to Geekbench 5, which measures raw CPU processing power. The E3B scored 963 on the single-core test and 4,148 on the multi-core test. The single-core score reflects the per-core speed of the Ryzen V2748, and the multi-core score shows what all 8 cores can do when they're working together. For a mini PC in this class, those are competitive numbers that put it well ahead of most entry-level machines and comfortably in the mid-range productivity territory. Now for the GPU benchmark, we ran 3D Mark Steel Nomad Lite, which is a DirectX 12 graphics test. The E3B scored 708 on the Steel Nomad Lite benchmark with the AMD Radeon integrated graphics. Looking at the estimated game performance for Battlefield 5 at 1440p Ultra settings, 3D Mark is projecting less than 30 frames per second, which is expected for integrated graphics at that resolution and quality setting. However, drop it down to 1080p Ultra and the estimate jumps to 30 plus frames per second. So at 1080p, you can expect a playable experience on less demanding titles, while heavier games will want lower settings to maintain smooth gameplay. This is integrated graphics after all, so these results are right in line with what you'd expect from the Radeon Vega 7. Over on Antutu benchmark, the E3B posted a total score of 1,289,960. Breaking that down, the CPU alone scored 784,453. That overall Antutu score of nearly 1.3 million is a strong result for a compact Windows Mini PC at this price point. And finally, PC Mark 10, which is the most real-world relevant benchmark of the bunch because it tests the kind of tasks you actually use a computer for every day. The E3B scored 4,870 overall, which PC Mark confirmed as a valid score. This means this machine is more than capable of handling everyday productivity work, web browsing, documents, video calls, and light creative tasks without any issues. So I have updated the scores on my chart, and at the time of recording this video, the Kamrui E3B ranks at number 6 on my chart based on the PC Mark 10 benchmark score, and that is a pretty impressive position, especially when you look at what it's competing against above it. Looking further down the chart, the E3B clearly outperforms every Intel Celeron and Intel N-series machine I've reviewed, which covers a large chunk of the budget mini PC market. Everything from the Beelink S12 Pro, the Minix Z100, the Ace Magic AK1 Plus, and all the way down to the entry-level machines running older Celeron chips. Those are all solid machines for light use, but the E3B is in a completely different performance league. So to put it simply, to rank number 6 out of everything I've tested is a genuinely good result for the Kamrui E3B. If PC Mark 10 is your benchmark of choice for everyday productivity, the machines above it score higher there. But if you're looking at raw processing power, multi-core performance, and overall value for money, this machine punches well above its price point. In summary, on the pro side, highest Antutu score of any mini PC I have tested on this channel, ranks at number 6 on my mini PC rankings chart, Wi-Fi 6E with full 6 GHz band support, triple display outputs, HDMI, DisplayPort and USB-C, Dolby Atmos and DTS:X audio built-in, 4K HDR display support, Android x86 and FIDE OS compatible, expandable storage with both SATA and M2 slots, gigabit LAN plus USB-C display output, and it is compact with a Visa mount included in the box. On the con side, integrated GPU only, Radeon Vega 7, no discrete graphics option. Only one RAM stick installed from the factory, so you are in single channel mode until you add a second. No Thunderbolt port. Single core performance trails behind modern Intel laptop chips. PC Mark score puts it just outside the top 5 on the chart. Limited gaming headroom at higher settings. The Ryzen Embedded chip is less familiar to most buyers, and the power adapter is a standard barrel connector, not USB-C power delivery. Overall, strong value for the money with a feature set that punches well above its price point, but go in knowing the GPU and storage limitations. So is the Kamrui E3B a good mini PC to purchase? I would say yes to answer that question. If you are looking for a compact Windows 11 mini PC that delivers serious performance at a very reasonable price, the E3B is a solid buy. The highest Antutu score on my chart, a rank of number 6 overall, triple display support, Wi-Fi 6E, Dolby Atmos, 4K HDR, and a feature set that goes well beyond what you would normally expect at this price point. This mini PC offers great bang for the buck. A big thank you to Kamrui for sponsoring this unit for review. I appreciate the support, but keep in mind my testing and opinions are my own. So if you are interested in this model, the purchase link is in the description below this video. And if you are looking to save a little more, there is also a link in the description where you can purchase the model featured in this video at a second-hand price, but don't take too long to decide. These usually go very quickly. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, hit that thumbs up. It really does help the channel more than you know. Make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next review. So stay connected and see you in the next one.